Dear God, I am aware of and believe in your existence. To preface, despite the fact that you know what is in my mind, I will try to ignore this paradox that everything I say you know, everything I think you know, before time has even happened. Trying to cover this is pointless. Now, I've had doubts, and doubts regarding doubts. I am a very factual and objective person. I always like to consider evidence. I always like to learn more. I am very grounded in what does and doesn't exist, and I prefer what does. I have studied religion, and to this day, and likely for the rest of my life, I will have doubts. I am materialistic, so to speak. Many see this as a flaw. I see this as the natural result of studying. And though for many reasons I have my belief towards Christianity, certainly my upbringing is what started it, but my disbelief in natural random evolution, my opinion on the soul, and my opinion on the Bible, and many other factors, I believe you exist. I believe you're real, and I believe I am talking to you. My relationship with you has been faulty, and this is the first time I'm verbally talking to you in a long time. And even mentally, rarely do I talk to you. I always have these doubts, this internal sort of contradictory, paradoxical, I don't know the right term for it, doubts, you understand. And they are that why I talk to you, you know my thoughts. And I sit before my food and alone, and I think, why do I not pray? No one is watching. I'm not being judged. I'm not wasting time. Why do I not pray? And yet I cannot overcome. It is not like a challenge that is presented with me and I face it. It is my own thoughts, and I think only, why can I not pray? I can. Why do I not pray? Yet I continue what I'm doing and I do not pray, and I can observe this, and it is like fighting a battle that doesn't exist. I have incentive to do it, and nothing is stopping me. Some may claim this as, demon influence and the enemy putting thoughts in my head, but again, being doubtful and materialistic, I always go to the neurological or psychological explanation, as I do with everything related to you. Every explanation, every coincidence, I can say that could have happened naturally. Every thought that may have occurred by you is something that could have occurred by me, and these are the doubts I have. And it is with this very grounded mindset in materialism. After all, everything really, all the physical world is material, and when you study sciences, that is what you come to understand. Explanations are no longer, it was God. Explanations are now, this can be explained by the GABA inhibitor or dynorphin. I understand that glue interlocking into the atomic grooves is what causes the adhesion. I understand weather patterns and how many microfluctuations in the etc., and all of these scientific and materialistic facts are what give me explanations. And some, again, see this as a flaw. They see this as you are not putting your full faith in God, but as the Bible has written, that it is good to test your faith. You should not have blind faith. It is very bad to have blind faith. Now, many encourage relationship with God, you and Jesus, you, same person, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, all the same, but I won't get into the Trinity. When you say it's hard to understand, I don't think it is really. It's just hard to explain, but it's quite easy to understand. So, I believe in you, and I believe in the Trinity. I believe in Jesus, and they say to have a relationship with you. The church I go to frequently says, have a relationship with Jesus, and you love Jesus, and you should connect with Jesus, etc., etc. And again, I find this difficult. Now, of course, historians agree Jesus was a real person, and the historicity of his resurrection is something frequently debated. Ironically, one of the main points against it is simply that it's not possible, which, when you're arguing the existence of God, assuming God is real, then it is possible, so that argument is nil. But regardless, I do believe in the resurrection, as I believe in God, and I believe a God who created all things and has omnipotent power is able to create resurrection, whether be it through altering quantum states, which is fully feasible and undetectable to humans, or by supernatural causes. After all, God has created physics and existence. I don't know how, but I believe in it. And believe is a word, it's a difficult word. Belief or faith, I'm not sure. Many believe stronger than I do, because again, someone who's so, like me, materialistic, it is difficult to believe. Others believe wholeheartedly that there is no other possible solution. Some more intelligent think perhaps it could be so that it is not, but I have very strong faith that it is. But I can say intellectually that in my opinion, it has happened. Because again, I am very precise in my words. Not again, I'm saying this for the first time, but I'm very precise in my words. And I like to be accurate, so saying it has happened is something difficult for me. Many Christians can state these beliefs as facts, and there again is a paradox, contradictory statement. I don't know what it is, but in that, if I believe it and I believe it to be so, I should believe it as fact. So I should say it as fact, but I cannot say that because it is a belief. But if belief in God is the ultimate belief, and belief is to be strong, well, now that seems like a contradiction, doesn't it? I'm not sure about that. Command to both say to have strong faith and not doubt, yet at the same time doubt faith. Perhaps the sentiment that you should have strong, doubtless faith is human-made, I'm unsure. But that is what seems to be conveyed by many people. A strong relationship and connection with God that should be unwavering. And I suppose it is my accuracy and studies that lead me to not be able to attain this. I would never like to say Jesus has risen from the dead and God exists. Rather, I say I believe in it, as in objective terms, I understand there are other beliefs, and it is my belief and my opinion that it has happened. I cannot state it as a fact, despite the fact that I believe it is a fact. So it is in my extreme desire to be perfectly accurate with words that I cannot say it is a fact. And I think it is this mindset too, not just in speech, but in thinking. I'll try to be perfect and accurate. And in this attempt at perfect thinking and extremely unbiased thought, always thinking from, ironically, a devil's advocate position, I always doubt everything I say, everything I believe. I can never say that was simply God without doubting myself and claiming to myself it doesn't have to be. And thus, trying to believe resurrection and God's existence as purely a fact is, I suppose, impossible for someone with a mindset like me. If you are to have the conversational mindset of, it is my belief and here's why I believe it, and you apply that to yourself and not just other people, you cannot have a relationship, can you? Because intellectually you believe, again, ironically, yes, you believe, that is your belief. And thus it comes off as an intellectual position, a standpoint I have on the matter, that I believe God exists rather than a relationship. And perhaps you do need blind faith, because it is blind. Some believe God performs miracles, some believe he doesn't, some believe he speaks directly, some believe he doesn't. I haven't personally witnessed or felt direct God contact to me. I haven't seen anything I think was a miracle. I have seen things I believe may have been God ordained, but I'm unsure. Again, believe, not claim to be so. So, I don't know if he has acted in me. I don't know how to identify that, and everything I will always doubt. So perhaps, yes, you need to be blind, because if he does not perform things visibly and clearly to us, then how are you to know? I understand that I am alternating between talking to God and talking to my phone, which face away from the darkness, but I'm trying to focus on God. I figured it would be useful for other people to hear this. Maybe they apply to them. So sorry, God, for taking attention away from you. Now, yes, having a relationship with you, God, is very difficult because, ironically, as I believe I am talking to a being that exists, as I believe I am sitting in my dark room in the night, talking to what an atheist would think is a madman, talking to himself, and to anyone who doesn't believe in the Abrahamic God would think is just wrong, is, crazy. But I believe I'm talking to you, and I believe you exist, and yet I'm speaking to you about how I doubt your existence. It is strange. It is something not commonly experienced in the world, because in a physical world, rarely does this occur. It would be like sending letters to someone you think may or may not be receiving them, doubting their existence. You send them the letters, and you are sending them to someone, right? But you're telling them you don't know if they exist. So are you sending them to someone? You're talking to them. So I don't know. But I'm talking to you. And I talk to you, and I continue to talk to you. And I believe in you, right? But again, an intellectual standpoint rather than a blind relationship. And I don't know if you can have both a strong relationship and an intellectual standpoint. I'm not sure there really is a scholar who has studied ins and outs of both sides and had a strong faith. Because the ones that become popular, such as John Lennox, they support Christianity, of course. But I am a very, very unbiased person. I try to be as unbiased as possible, very unopinionated, very factual, very considerate, very empathetic. And thus, to ignore the atheist standpoint and to ignore the criticisms is difficult. And the criticisms are very good. The criticisms are very reasonable. Many Christians write them off, saying demonically influenced, evil, twisting things. No, I considered them. I will consider any standpoint, no matter how crazy. Some I will immediately dismiss as stupid, like racism. I'm going to consider for a moment, consider how cultural context existed back then and how slaves were a part of life back then. But racism was simply illogical. It was a difficult thing to defeat, which thankfully we did, mostly. But it was illogical. And atheism, again, being very materialistic, I cannot simply dismiss atheism as stupid, I believe in God, and atheism is wrong because I believe in God and I'm right. I think that is what many people do. They wouldn't word it as that did, because that would seem selfish, but that is what they do. And certainly I do believe many, many atheists are evil. Many try to take people away from belief, and that can cause many, many problems. Belief is a very important thing. And there is one person, Heliocentric. He is a YouTuber. I've seen him stated in a video. I don't watch him, he's an atheist, and he stated in his video talking about arguments against Christianity, saying, if you're not in time for this right now, don't watch if you can't handle it and if you need your faith. And this is something I consider. Faith is extremely important, and many atheists who try to take that away, I believe, are evil. If you went to, say, a country you've never heard of, and they somehow spoke English, and you talk to them, and they said they base their morals on this being they find to be eternally good, and they base their life on it, and they praise it, and without them they would be empty, and you now start dedicating your life, such as, who's the one guy? I forget, but that one prolific atheist who thinks they're all stupid. But you start dedicating your life to disproving it, and you start going around to these people who dedicate their life and morals on this thing, and it's the thing that gives their life purpose, and trying to take that away. That's evil. Of course, in an atheist standpoint, where morals are objective, that isn't evil, because evil is subjective. So, I've gotten off topic here, haven't I? Where was I? Yes, I consider all standpoints. And thus, I believe because the atheist standpoint is very reasonable, and I fully understand it, I might never have a deep relationship with you, God. I may never. Because every single thought I will have a doubt. And whether that doubt is a demon coming into my mind, or whether that doubt is simply my brain considering the facts, as I believe many don't, I'm unsure, but I know it will be a doubt regardless. It may tell me to get rid of these doubts, but I think that would turn me into a blind faith person. This is what atheists claim too, that you have blind faith, and Christians will say, no, it is passion. And I'm not sure it is. I'm not sure what it is exactly. It's strange, because those who do have blind faith do have passion. If you truly believe God exists and there's absolutely zero chance whatsoever that anything else is possible, then you would be passionate for it, wouldn't you? And that is what makes me struggle to read the Bible, and struggle to pray, and struggle to believe, and struggle to not have doubts, is that I cannot simply say it is so. I will always doubt, and I will always think it is not true, no matter what. Well, not that I don't think it's not true, I will just think there's a chance. And yet, no matter what's very strange, what makes it strange is that in my rational thinking, I don't believe it's not true. I believe everything is true, and I believe that Jesus resurrected. I believe God exists. I don't believe Christianity was from a crazy man who happened to somehow trick the entire world. And I believe it exists, and I don't believe in matter coming from nothing, time having no beginning, evolution being just molecules that were more stable than others. I don't believe in the soul not existing, just consciousness is just rendered in the brain. I don't believe in many of these things, and I can form this rational argument, and I can address every single doubt that I have in every single atheist argument and say they are very reasonable, but for these reasons I am Christian, and this is my belief and my opinion, and thus I believe in God, and thus I believe I am talking to you, God, and yet I will always have doubts. And that is what is difficult for me. That is what is stressful. I must always remind myself every time I want to talk to God, talk to you, that I do believe. And I suppose you can call it a wavering faith, but it really isn't, because at the foundation, at the intellectual level, it's not. I just play such a strong devil's advocate against myself, trying to be unbiased and factual, that it's hard to state belief as fact. Others may be able to say, yes, I see your point, atheism is very reasonable, but I believe in God, and thus I will go pray. And yet, because I am so, combative against myself, I will say, yes, I believe the atheist standpoint is reasonable, but for these reasons I believe in God. But that is an opinion, and the atheist standpoint is still reasonable. I can't just settle on God existing, can I? I can do it intellectually, but not emotionally. And forming a relationship is even more difficult, isn't it? Simply saying God exists is one thing, but trying to connect with something that you will always doubt no matter what is difficult. It's like, again, my analogy with sending a letter to someone that may or may not exist, a distant lover, perhaps. Sure, it's one thing to think, okay, well, based on the evidence I've seen, I think that person is receiving my letters. But if you are 99.5% sure they exist and 0.5% sure, or I don't know if sure would be the right word, but if you think there's a 0.5% chance they don't exist, then how do you form a relationship with something that you have doubts about? Isn't it difficult? Imagine that. Imagine you write letters. Not that anyone does that anymore, but imagine you wrote letters to someone in a far-off country. You never receive any, but from what you've heard, from someone telling you they've seen them, from an image you've seen of them that might or might not be them, and from things changing based on what you sent, they probably exist, right? Most likely. It is most likely, and you believe they exist. But trying to connect to them when you only believe they exist. And yet, is there a stronger word than believe? I'm not sure. You can believe and have faith and think something is true all you want. But does belief make it a fact? No. You can believe it to be a fact, but that seems to be almost contradictory, because If you're believing it to be a fact, it is still a belief, and thus it is opinion, and opinion is the opposite of fact. Thus, I do not know how anyone can truly believe. After all, many people are like that. They're like me. I think Lutherans are a good example, perhaps. Maybe not. I'm unsure exactly, but, well, I guess Martin Luther himself. He pondered existence. Many Christian philosophers wrote about the reasonings for God, the evidence for God, and I'm unsure how close a relationship they had. I suppose you do get to a point where you have understood atheism so well, but you have so many reasons to believe Christianity that the reasoning for atheism becomes small enough that it doesn't matter anymore. So maybe I just need to learn more. Maybe I need to read Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I don't know. But I believe, ironically, perhaps the threshold for true belief, for deep belief without doubts, is the knowledge that something is so believable and so plausible that in other opinion is simply drowned out. When there is two or more sides that could be true, you could eternally loop devil's advocate for one being true, another being untrue, and one being true and untrue, and so on. With this infinite loop, where each argument is solid but has 10 counterpoints, and those points have 10 counterpoints as well. And the only conclusion is, I suppose, simply to drown out the other with so much unbearable evidence that it would be foolish to believe otherwise, and make that such a strong part of your mindset that you inherently believe that it is true, and any doubts are simply dismissed as fair point, but I don't think that's so. Rather, in my mind, it is currently fair point, and that is where it ends, and thus I will doubt. So perhaps it is all about learning. Some do this blindly, some do truly learn enough about Christianity. If there's any atheist considerations, they go to their Christian friends who tell them a little bit more about Christianity, and now they're like, phew, almost considered atheism there. And for me, it certainly is difficult. Trying to learn, trying to be unbiased, I cannot simply go, oops, I'm starting to have doubts, let me go to my Christian friends and get Christian information. That seems like blind faith to me. So in trying to study Christianity, I will also have to study atheism, and in doing that, I will have more doubts, and I'll have more belief, which will lead me to have more doubts, etc. I've already had this struggle many times, as I am detailing now. But I'll try. Now that is the end of the video. I have converted a prayer much more into a monologue, perhaps a soliloquy. Perhaps it helped you, perhaps it didn't. But now I know I will go talk with God alone. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned. Thank you.